Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I'm going to jump right into it, and I'm going to pick up on the same topic I was covering in the last video, which is the Pittsfield Public School Committee's choice for school superintendent. And so if you haven't been following this, just to briefly get us up to date, the past year or so when Jake McCandless announced that he would be leaving, the school committee decided that they were going to do this in-depth search and look for a new superintendent, and that this was an opportunity to really think about different things, including diversity, changes in programs, looking at the model of how we do things. And one of the big reasons for that was, we all know that our school enrollment is declining at an unbelievable rate. The kids that we do have are choicing out. Parents are choicing them out to other districts. It's not good what's happening in our schools, and it's been going on for quite some time. And even Jake McCandless, when he left to take another position, he said one of the reasons, he did basically say, too much politics. He did say that. So anyway, what ended up happening was when Jake McCandless left, our deputy superintendent, Joe Curtis, became the acting or interim superintendent until the school committee made their final selection. And people were saying from the beginning, it's already set up. Jake McCandless has left, and Joe Curtis, the deputy superintendent, will get picked, and it's already set up ahead of time. And that was the talk that everyone was saying. I mean, really, I had that conversation with people a year ago. Or at least I remember sitting around a campfire. So the weather was really nice last year. And that ultimately, that's what happened. Dennis Powell, one of the members of the school committee, quit in protest and said this was a sham, it was a scam, it was a setup. They already knew what they were going to do, and they just wasted our time. And there were some really good candidates. He, along with some other people, really liked, I think her name is Dr. Bonner. And she's an African-American woman, highly qualified. All these candidates were highly qualified. The final ones they were down to. But she was, of course, highly qualified, had a ton of things and new programs and new ideas to bring to the table, and we passed on that. And that really upset him, because this was a chance to do something different, to try to turn things around from where we're at. And it upset a lot of people, including myself. So I said in that last video, it's the good old boys, or whatever you want to call it. I call it the Mean Girls Club. That's what it is now. The Good Old Boys Network has kind of drifted away. Now it's the Mean Girls Club, and there's a lot of men who are members of the Mean Girls Club. But that's what it is. And it's the political cliques. It's the clique that we have now are the same people, really, that were groomed under the last the Jim Roberto administration, and they were groomed, and Jim Roberto and our former mayor, along with everyone, are still heavily involved. They always stay involved. And, I said in that last video, this being an election year for the school committee and the city council, the mayor needed to get, my opinion, the mayor needed to get her people elected on that council to get her votes. She needs those votes, and she has an opportunity to secure the whole council here with Morandi and Connell leaving. At least that was the talk. Things are turning a little bit now in how people are talking anyways. So I said that, you can't win an election without city employees. They decide these elections, because like in 2017, those city council school committee elections, 21% of registered voters turned out. So they know that, this is exactly what I said in the last video, but it's true. They know that all of you are not going to take the time to vote. So they know it's a numbers game. And some of the people in the mayor's camp consider themselves numbers people or numbers wizards. But they know it's a numbers game. They look at, the historical data, and it shows. And you have to have city employees to win these elections. So, wheeling and dealing gets done, and that's how it rolls around here, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows that. And, a lot of people saying, well, this was a setup. It was a 3-4 vote with the school committee on picking Joe Curtis. And I've been saying all along, these political cliques, they work together, they wheel and deal. On small local government, you should never have like city councilors endorsing each other and endorsing mayors and mayors endorsing them, and it's ridiculous. And here's a perfect example of that. This was when Linda Tyre, her last election, running for mayor. And here you have Jim Roberto, our former mayor, the late Jerry Doyle, former mayor, Miss Yan, is it Christina Yan or something like that? But Miss Yan, member of or chair maybe even, of the school committee, standing right next to Linda Tyre, endorsing her. Then Peter Marchetti, Pete White, Earl Persip. There's a few of them on here. And of course on the back of this, it was Earl, Pete, and Peter telling you, you should really, as a team. And that's the kind of stuff I say. If that's not cliques, what is? So that's why people feel this way. I get Mr. Powell's frustration. But here's the other thing. I want to applaud Patrick Kavey, for one, because Patrick came out and said basically what I'm saying, and he said it very stern and harshly, that we have failed the city by our choice in doing the same old with the public schools. And all of them, including Patrick Kavey, stressed that this has nothing personal against Mr. Curtis. Joe Curtis has a great resume. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about him. So, and Patrick Kavey stressed that too. And then after Patrick Kavey, Councilor Earl Persip came out with the same view. And I applaud Councilor Persip for that, because, look, for one, and I might, I have a tendency to go around things, get off target, but I'm going somewhere with this. But speaking of Councilor Persip, or speaking of John Kroll, or speaking of Helen Moon, I've mentioned Helen a few times recently. And, I've mentioned John Kroll recently positively a few times. And I talked to John, not a lot, but I've talked to him, I guess quite a bit in the last week. A couple times, a few times, whatever it's been. And I get along with them. And some people, oh, you got to watch out and this and that. John's one of the bad guys. And, Earl and Peter and Pete and this one. Look, I've said this before, I'm not part of a clique or group or any of that. I have backed and endorsed candidates before. I did it in the last mayoral election. I won't do that again. And the funny thing about that is I backed Melissa Mazzio. And Melissa Mazzio, I went and had coffee with her, and I sat down with her, and I said, Melissa, what can I do to help, and this and that. And Melissa said to me, Mike, you're kind of like a media source now, so I didn't even want to ask you to get involved in this, because I don't want to be responsible either if, if I lose, and, so maybe you should just keep doing what you're doing. Melissa really didn't want me involved in her campaign for that reason. And that was smart on her part. I understood that. I didn't understand it till later, but I did understand it. So I won't do that again. I'm trying to be open here. But where I'm really going with this is like with John, or some of the things I've agreed with Helen, or this particular incident where I really agree with Earl and I really agree with Patrick. And where I really applaud Patrick and Earl is to be able to come out against, I hate to say against the group, but to have the courage to come out and say, okay, you know what, this is wrong. This is wrong. And this is why people say good old boys and all that. Because this is exactly what it looks like. And we had a chance. And then when you look, Earl made a great point on the superintendent pick, that superintendents around the country, the way our system is set up, it's positive, healthy, and something that normally happens. You rotate superintendents in and out of communities. That's why when you look at a lot of superintendents' resumes, you'll see that they were superintendents of a lot of different schools. And maybe the first school that they started out with, they were deputy superintendent. And then when they got their first superintendent job, it's out in another district. And there's a reason they do that. And it's so it doesn't build cliques or animosity or cause, this hierarchy, how you move up because I've even, with people who really like Joe Curtis, and again, this is nothing against him as a person, I've heard nothing but good things about him. But I've heard people say, oh, he deserved this. Not in public service jobs, not in our public schools. There is no deserve. You know who deserves when you're talking our public school systems? The children. That's who deserves. So the reason they normally rotate superintendents and do that is to stop that jealousy or those cliques or somebody moving up the rung as a superintendent and bringing their group with them and causing this divide and animosity. That's why they do that. And it brings in fresh new ideas, things that are working in other districts. And it brings in true diversity, which is what I was saying. True diversity. If you're part of the clique, to me it doesn't matter ethnicity or any of that. Doesn't matter from a diversity perspective. If you're part of these political cliques and you're just going with the flow, that's not diversity. So we had a chance here for true diversity, and I wish we had went with it, but we didn't. And look, again, back to the people giving me a hard time when I've said, I have a good relationship with John Kroll now, and I spent a year and a half tearing John apart. So John knows that. I know that. Most of you know that have been following me for a while. And even with Earl, I've disagreed with a lot of things with Earl. I've disagreed with Patrick on the defunding our police. But I tell you what, when people send me those messages about, oh, you have to dislike them, or Earl's just doing this to grandstand, or Dennis Powell's just doing this to grandstand, I don't believe that. And why, when it's somebody like Councilor Persip, who I disagree with a lot, why would I put him down when he finally does something that I heavily agree with? Why would I say, oh, he's just grandstanding, when we're on the same page? I can't call that grandstanding. And I don't play the bully clique mentality. And even if they're doing it to me, I won't do it back to anyone. That's the problem with our Pittsfield politics. And if Earl is at a point in his political career, or whatever you want to call it, if he's willing to say, you know what, enough's enough, maybe some of these people are right. Enough is enough with the cliques and the groups. Let's just start moving the city forward and working individually on what we're elected to do for our constituents. That's what needs to be done. So, I'd be more than happy to build a positive relationship with any of these politicians that I've disagreed with. I don't want to continue the divide. So it hurts me when people that I know are huge or have been loyal supporters of me, and they get irritated when I say, well, check out John Kroll, or it hurts me because I don't want to continue us fighting as a community. I really want to see us get better. And I hope that I don't lose people over this, but I have to be honest, and that's how I am. I'm not holding grudges, and I'm not playing the game. I'm not picking sides. If some of these politicians are willing to come out and do what's right, then God bless them for that, and I back them on that 100%, and I mean that. I'll have Patrick Kavey's back, Earl Persip's back, 100%, because what they're doing, they're going to take a lot of heat, and I saw some of it, they already are, for coming out and having the guts to say this was wrong for these reasons. And it was wrong. And what do we do about it? It's not right. We really did some damage. Watch our enrollment continue to go down. It's a disservice to the family and to the children, to the future of the city, and has nothing to do with Joe Curtis. He's probably, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. I don't know. If I met him, I'd probably think that. I've heard nothing but good things about him. But nobody deserves promotions or any of that. And if you feel like that's how it needs to be where you're working, you need to get into the private sector where it works that way. Because you shouldn't expect it to be that way in the public school system. That's got to be the kids and the families and the constituents. That's all that comes first. What's best for the community, and unfortunately, sometimes the good people, they don't get what they would get in the private sector. But that's the sacrifice of public service too. Remember that, everyone. So that's why we should treat our public servants great when they're doing an honest, great job, and that's how you avoid cliques and corruption also. So that's it. I could go on, and I hope I didn't get sidetracked and mumble too much here, but I applaud Councilor Persip. I applaud big-time Councilor Kavey. He was the first city councilor to come out, and I applaud Dennis Powell for his courage, and Councilor Persip did a really good interview on John Kroll's show. Check it out. Really, it's a decent interview. You should check it out. And if Earl, if you're watching this, I'd love to do an interview with you. Patrick, same to you. And if there's anything I can do to back you guys or help you guys, really, all I want to see is these cliques broke up. That's all I want to see. Just everyone working together to do what's right for the city, and let's start being honest. And, this election, people really need to pay attention to that. We're going to have to make some changes, but it will be what's best for the community. But any counselor that's willing to say, you know what, and come out and do what's right now, I got your back for whatever that means. I don't think I'm anything special either, believe me. I get all those. There's the few. There's still a few of the mayor's supporters that love to call me, what do they call me? Oh, fake journalists. No, wannabe journalists. Which, David from a group called the Pittsfield Sentinel. Check that out too. If you're not a member of that group, join it. I think he is the admin. He might even be the founder of the group. But it's a pretty good group. And his response to that was that I was a wannabe journalist, and that he was too. He said he fancied himself a wannabe journalist, and he thought wannabe journalists were pretty cool, and they helped get information out there. And I liked his view on that. Because I guess that is true. What I'm doing is not traditional journalism. I didn't go to school to be a journalist. I didn't do any of that. I just was a person in the community that wanted to speak up, and a lot of you agreed with what I was saying, and then I saw that, wow, this can be a platform for all of us to use. So that's what we did. With a lot of issues, and it felt good. I felt like I was doing something really good for the community, and that's what it continues to be. And that's what it has to be. That's all I'm trying to do here. So when I hear the wannabe journalists, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. But they're slowly fading away. They're just a few supporters, like diehard supporters of the mayor that, I don't know, they kind of look silly doing it. I've been doing this 3 years now, and every now and then I say, wannabe, you're a fake journalist. I'm sorry. They must be having a bad day. I'll pray for them. So that is it for now. And hopefully I'll have some interviews and stuff coming up, and I'll probably do another video. Hopefully I didn't mumble too much, but I probably did. This one was just off the cuff after I watched the video with Earl on the John Kroll show. So everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully it gets warmer, and I'll probably do another video tomorrow. So I'll throw another video out sometime tomorrow night. So yeah, again, that's it for now, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.